Hello, everyone. We are so excited about today and our special guest, Andrea. And thank you for joining us. My name is Tom Wood. I am Success Services Director at HINGE Advisors. And our guest today will be Andrea Majewski, Regional Director at the Learning Tree Child Care Center in Michigan. And we will be talking about leadership training. Let me give you a little background update on HINGE as well as leadership, and then we'll jump right in, okay? HINGE Advisors has been around for about 21 years, and we take great pride in serving and loving the child care, the early education community, all the heroes in this community. And let me start by saying thank you for what you do, because what you do is important, what you do matters, what you do changes the world every day. So thank you for that. Don't ever underestimate the significance of what you do. HINGE Advisors, 20 years. We work with early education schools to either enhance your value, create exit strategies. So just reach out to us if we can help. And we exist because we want to serve and love those of you in this industry. So today we're going to talk about investing in leadership training for your staff. And I'm going to put it this way, and then I will let Andrea introduce herself further and begin to talk. I'll ask her some questions and let her talk. Leadership investment is like, this is not going to make sense to begin with. It's like buying fertilizer at the Home Depot. It's not like cutting the grass. Because if I cut the grass, I go down a row, I turn around, I can see immediate results of my efforts. If you guys get a better price on plastic cups, you can see an immediate results, an immediate return on investment. But in leadership training, it's like fertilizer. If I fertilize, it doesn't change the look of the grass that day. If I fertilize over time, all of a sudden, things start to change. And as we invest in our teams with leadership development training, all of a sudden, their reactions start to change. Their demeanor starts to change. And we realize it when we see it. So leadership development is great for morale. It shows your team you care about them professionally and personally, because any leadership topic is also relevant for our A+ game away from work. And then ultimately, which is why we're here, it enhances your quality of care that you provide to the children and their families. So let Andrea introduce herself, and then let me walk through the agenda right quick. Andrea, thank you for joining us today. We're really honored that you are here. Tell us about you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for asking me to speak on this with you. We're huge fans of your leadership training, and I'm excited to share what we've done with it. But I am a regional director at the Learning Tree Child Care Center, like Tom said, in Michigan, and we have 6 locations, growing a 7th right now, and we love and serve about 1,000 children a day. I've been doing this for 15 years and love what I do very, very much. I love the company that we are, and I'm just excited to share about what we've done with leadership with our company.
I love it. Thank you, Andrea. So let me tell you how this is going to go. I'm going to ask Andrea a series of questions and let her respond to them. We might have a little give and take. And after each of these questions, we will pause for a second and allow you to put any comments or questions. I'll ask a question and you put your responses into the chat box. Okay? So we will respond to those, and we'll go through a couple of rounds of this, and then we'll just wrap it up. And if you have any further questions, so the first thing I want to ask Andrea is this, and I've worked with Andrea. I've had the pleasure of working with Andrea and her team, and I know that Learning Tree is very, very proactive in developing their leaders. Very proactive. They love buying fertilizer. Let me just put it that way. Andrea, Okay, before you guys were really intentional about that, what prompted you to invest the resources in leadership development, and what did your school leadership and the leadership development look like prior to this investment?
Yeah. Like you said, we are very proactive at the Learning Tree with every single thing that we do, every piece of quality in our program. But we were not proactive with this. We were really good managers. Mm-hmm. And we were great at training and managing. And then it got to a point with not understanding why people won't just do their job. And so over the last few years, I think everyone can agree the role of a director for us really shifted a little bit. And it was the management side of it needed to have more of a leadership piece. And there are sometimes it feels like directors need to be like the house mom. And myself and there's Karen who runs our centers, we run them together. And we would get calls all the time with a comment like, this teacher is upset about this. What do you want me to do? This parent said this. What do you want me to do? And it was all these questions. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And we're finding ourselves being like, I want you to do what the right thing is to do, what you should do. But they were having a really hard time in challenging situations with worrying about losing a teacher or a family and always coming to us. And when we knew they knew the answers. So, we started assigning leadership books, and not everyone loves to read or they didn't have time to. And so then I would find some articles and sum them up and make this pretty little flyer and say, everybody read this. What'd you get out of it? What can we do differently? And then we would have meetings and it would be on leadership topics, but it just wasn't enough. And that really was over the last few years, understanding that we need to invest in something different for growing our directors to be good leaders because of how challenging things are right now with staffing and retaining people and understanding the quality of our program should have quality leaders too.
Oh, yeah. Let me ask you this question, and then we'll open it up for anything under the chat. What are some of your favorite books that you invested in for your team and your emerging leaders?
Yeah, there's we had topics. One was on customer service, and I forget the name of the book, but it's Disney's customer service book. You probably know the title too. I'm drawing a blank right now. And then another one, which was my favorite, is called The Passion Conversation. And it was just speaking confidently about what you love to do in your career. And that was my personal favorite one. But I don't know. I have a whole library of them at a center. And whenever something comes up, I still give books away to people just to read this. And my directors love Vernon Mason books too, because it's just real life, what they're actually experiencing. I think they had a better interest in learning from the real lifeness of challenges in a center.
Oh yeah, and for those of you who have not heard of Vernon Mason, familiarize yourself with Vernon Mason because he is a powerhouse in this industry and he's got an amazing voice in this industry, and he's incredibly successful and informative and all the other great adjectives I could use. Here's a book you might think about too. Is called The Energy Bus. The Energy Bus. For those of you out there writing this down. So thank you for that, Andrea. Anything else before I ask this question for the chat box?
Go ahead.
All good. Okay. So let me ask you this: what is your school's, and do this in the chat box? What is your school's, as you see it, greatest challenge with your leaders leading? What is your school's greatest challenge with your leaders leading? And like Andrea said, everyone was asking questions. So we'll wait just a second on that and see. And go to the chat box. It should be at the top of your screen there. Let me say one thing too. While while that question sort of percolates, on the answering questions piece, one of the things that we encourage in our leadership training is to not be the answer ATM, and try to create a culture where you as a leader are requiring, I guess, your team to come to you not only with the question, but also what they would suggest as the solution. Because if you're the answer ATM and they come up and they push the button and they get the answer, they haven't grown at all in answering that question, or in creating that solution. So create a culture where the individual brings the question and recommendation, and create a culture where also it's okay if their recommendation is not a good one. It's okay. It creates a conversation and it creates an opportunity to lead in that situation. So let's see, chat. Let's keep moving on, and just as you guys see fit, just put anything in the chat. So my next question to Andrea. So what, and you touched on this a little bit, what specifically have you done to invest in your leaders and leadership development at your school? Because it's a thing where we, as you all know, as business owners, we need to be proactive about it. We need to go buy that fertilizer. We need to go to the Home Depot. We need to do something to do that. So anyway, what do you think, Andrea? What's your let's see, regarding investing in leadership, what has worked and what has not worked in your school? Or what specifically have you done to invest in your leaders and leadership development at your school? My bad.
Yep. So we did the books, the articles, in person, me talking to them. It also one-on-one coaching, moving in somewhere and helping a director through something. I still do all those things. But when I came to Park City in 2022 and heard Tom speak about this thing, and I traveled to this conference by myself from my company, I usually go with the founder. I came back and said, we have to do this. This is what our people need. This is where we're at right now. We're signing up immediately. So we signed up 22 people to do sprints with Tom. I think it was 22. It was 20 something. And we had 2 great groups of sprints. And so we started that, and Tom, everything he does is so amazing. And all of our team has always thought leadership was this big, challenging topic. And what exactly do you need to do? And Tom's sprints are so simple, and every single person has taken away so much from every single session that we've done with you. So we did the sprints, and from there we formed what we call a core group. So there's myself and a Karen. We're the same person. We run our centers together, but do very different things. It was before just the 2 of us, and now we have a core group of 7 people, and we formed our core group after the sprint, and they're our top level leaders. We get together often, we talk about things, and we have a plan for how we're going to support our other regionals and directors and assistant directors. So we have a core group, we're doing the sprints, and we also loved how this all worked with getting people together and investing in them. We also developed what we call a mid-level leadership bench. And I have a group of key teachers who are lead teachers that are now doing leadership within the center to help support teachers, training teachers and mentoring them, because a lot of the same challenges we had with our directors and our management team were very similar to teachers in the classroom working with children and parents and coworkers too. So we have these 3 groups going. We have the sprints, our core group, and our mid-level leadership.
I love that. That's very intentional. Thank you for your kind words about the sprints. I will say this about the sprints and working with Learning Tree is I've done this long enough to be able to tell if there's been investment in these leaders and emerging leaders prior to the leadership sprints. And it was a very engaging group from the learning tree, and one that certainly made my job easier. I could tell there'd already been proactive investment in leadership development, and because honestly, the team was hungry. The team was very hungry to learn, and that certainly made it easier. Quick question, follow-up question for you, Andrea. You said coaching. So how does that look?
It's more than just training in these sessions with you. It feels like you're a coach to my team on leadership, but now this core group that I have always has leadership in the back of our mind, and we're in centers. Directors are learning this too, but they need someone there sometimes to walk them through and talk them through what they're doing. So our whole team is on the same page with helping coach people in the moment when they need help or are at a situation that they just need some support. So we have the coaching for our directors, and we have the coaching for teachers, kind of mirroring the same things.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've set the expectations where everyone knows exactly where to go if they have a question, exactly who to go to if they have a question. So that's really clear. So that's awesome. Anything else on that, Andrea, before I go to the poll question?
I think something just to also mention is, just to brag about you a little bit, Tom, is how everyone just loves learning from you, and you're sharing simple things that are not complicated. It's not a ton of content, but you get everyone talking about a topic. And it was nice having your perspective as our trainer and our coach, because you're not in childcare. You appreciate what we do, but you're teaching things that are not specific to childcare. It is just in general. And I think it's helped our people be better humans outside of their career too.
Yeah, and thank you again for those kind words. For those of you listening, just know this is not a sales deal for leadership sprints, although we would love to talk to you about them, and I really appreciate that, Andrea. A couple of things to add on to that I will say is that most leadership topics, I think people, sometimes leaders and emerging leaders have a tendency to overthink these things, because leadership, and how we define it at Hinge, is serving and loving. It's just serving and loving, wanting the best for that other person, whoever that other person is. So always try to, I would encourage you, always try not to overthink it, and just try to get this much better every week. I mean, this isn't about dumping, like Andrew said, a bunch of stuff, regardless if you use the sprints or do a book or whatever the case may be. Just try not to overthink it. It's about how we view others, how we react to others, how we respond to others. Are we clear to those individuals we have authority over? Are the expectations crystal clear? Those little things, and that transcends across all businesses, industries, real life. And like I said earlier, there's not a leadership topic that exists that we can apply in our world away from work. And I love companies like Learning Tree and Andrea, because they're wanting their team to be successful at work, and they're wanting their team to be successful away from work. And whether we like it or not as leaders, they are connected. These things are connected. That door that your team comes through in the morning to your school, they're bringing whatever it is with them from their world away from work. So just remember that. Andrea, did you have anything else to add before we go to the question?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. So regarding investing in leadership development, what has worked in your school, and or what has not worked in your school? And we'll let you just answer in the chat box. How about that? So Andrea, while we wait, have you done anything that hasn't worked? I know I'm hitting you blind with this question. What have you done that hasn't worked?
A lot of things, probably.
Knowing you guys, probably not a lot, but what have you done that has not worked?
I don't know if it's that it hasn't worked, but I think that over the last 2 years, we don't often have turnover with directors in our company. And since we've made this shift, we've had people that have not worked out.
Yes.
So I think that would be what we didn't work for them anymore with what was important to us with our values and how we wanted our leadership approach and style to be.
Which is a great point, a great way to look at it, because maybe great leadership training will also help you determine who should be there and who shouldn't be there. And that's not meant to be cruel or anything, but there are times when things just don't work out and a person is better served to go elsewhere. So yeah. Let's see, the things that I have seen that have not worked. Let's see. Do we have any responses? I guess we do not have any responses. Still looking for those. So the thing that I see that has not worked is one thing. Oh, here we go. I'm seeing the chat box. Oh my goodness. Oh, my technical skills on full display here. Let's go to the chat box here. All right. All right. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Vernon is amazing. Yep, amen to that. Karen Hartman says common sense. Yes, it is. Consistent accountability, problem solving. I love this. And these are the challenges. This is the first round. Keeping calm and making good choices under pressure. That is a great point because, and Andrea, I'll let you chime in whenever you like, because it's easy for us to talk about these things on a webinar on a Wednesday afternoon, but when we're in the moment, that's where it's challenging. Another challenge: leaders balancing leading with staff needs, family needs, program needs, because that is a balance. Staff training. People afraid of being wrong. And let's scroll down here. And apologies to everyone. I thought I was clicking in. Andrew, you please.
I opened up the chat too, so I've been reading along the way. But I'm proud of you that you clicked over there and you see. Are you on the first question or the second question? Or everything?
I'm still on the first question because it's got like some of the challenges. I do want to give this a moment or two with the first question. Being distracted with personal stuff is what we were talking about. Creativity, accountability. There's a good one. We have 5 leaders on our team. It can be challenging to make sure we're all consistent. Are we? Yeah, and another consistency there. All right. Trying to find. Go ahead, Andrew.
All of them sum up exactly with what my why was too, is that these things don't just come with a manual that you can train on. And then when these situations come up all the time, it's not just the answers aren't there. It has to be from the confidence and decision making that the leader has. Yes,
it is. And you guys could tell why I'm not in the IT department at Hinge. But so sorry, a little bit late on this. Here's a few with the most recent question. What has worked in your school? What is not? Being positive consistently, being consistent, following through. Let's see. Being consistent, positive, Here's somebody that says mandatory meetings have not worked. Leadership training has worked. Let's see. Ooh, have life coach training has helped in doing the happiness guide. And Karen, I would love for you to elaborate on that in the chat box. In the chat box. Yeah, and here's another one. Time is a huge burden on our leadership team. I'd love to dedicate time prior to our school year starting to do specific leadership development, but finding the time is difficult. And that's a great point. How do you do that? How do you find the time? Because you guys are running a school with 6, almost 7 locations.
It is a challenge, but I have this team of people that think like me, and having the core group too, that we're all on the same page with making it happen. And our lives are important outside of work, and they're important in work too. And there's not enough time in the day. You will never leave, but the work's going to be there tomorrow. But you need to make sure the most important things, you know how to prioritize them within the day and know what can wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that. Here's somebody with stuff that's worked. Positive messaging in the bathroom and other hidden places where people can read and be a part of. Let's see, approachable director, weekly meetings. You guys are great in the chat box, and I wasn't giving you any credit whatsoever there for a second. Conferences and weekly team meetings. Thank you for the encouraging words, everyone. Relationship with the staff. Here's somebody. We had a life coach come in and do a 3-hour training 3 weeks in a row, and she had them do a lot of deep work on themselves personally. And honestly, the better we are away from work, the better we're going to be at work. It's just, and the better we are at work, the better we are going to be away from work. So, and then we have a local leadership coach. So thank you, everybody. Sorry about just being late to that party. So let's jump into the next question. So Andrea, and you touched on this a little bit, but so you're doing the leadership training, investing in your team. What returns are you seeing and experiencing on this? What tangible things are you seeing that are different than what they were?
Honestly, just overall a stronger team, and having the confidence and trust that we're all on the same page. And I still get the calls all the time. I still can walk them through, but I often find myself saying, okay, referring to a sprint, one of the topics that they learn from a sprint, how are we going to get through this? You're not alone. But I have more confident leaders on my team than we've ever had before. Like I said, we were really good managers, and now we're good at both. They know when they have to manage, and they know when they have to lead. Even like you said too, it's not something that's going to happen overnight or even after a month. So it's been 2 years since we've really, really, really invested in this, and it still is important to keep putting this into this, even right now when we go through challenging times, knowing in a year from now, how great is this leadership team going to be? And now we have teachers involved, and we had our last whole administrator meeting last month, and I'm looking around the room, and there were so many of my mid-level people there that have been promoted to new positions, and it was like an aha moment. We didn't realize it at the time, but it all comes together. So investing in every level of leadership is just so powerful. And we still have a ways to go with everything that we do. We should always be wanting to improve the quality of every part of our program. And your people are the most important because they make it happen. And I actually asked all of my people to help me with this question and talking about this. And I just want to read to you some of the answers that they've said, that they wanted me to share this for them with what we've learned and what they've taken away. I can't tell you how many times I've watched teachers' attitude affect those around them, and they have physically seen the effect of the classroom climate being changed from one grumpy attitude. I now have the awareness and the confidence to address and fix this right away with my team. Typically, that director is going to notice some tension, kind of just go back to work and then wait until something happens or someone quits or something that they could have just addressed right away with a quick conversation to help fix that. So it's so important to make sure that I'm happy and confident that whatever the day brings, I know I can handle. I hear Tom's voice giving me a pep talk every day. Manage your emotions in the moment. Don't be a jerk really stuck out to me. This was one about self-awareness and having the emotional intelligence to understand the emotions of people around you. Emotional intelligence is not something I would have ever trained someone on. I didn't have the intelligence to do that. And so hearing my director speak like this is, I know that they've learned. I trust that they're doing this because they're able to refer to something. I love to make sure I'm curious with my teachers. I feel like this helps them know that I care about them so much. I also implement this in my life outside of work. I find that this actually really helps me when I'm feeling like a little bit of an outsider. When I say it's sunny, I can feel my mood change. You have the power to change the weather. The last thing we talked about has really changed my life is knowing my why. Knowing why I set the goals I do has helped motivate me. I'm not doing something because I'm told or expected to. I'm doing something because of the outcome. Knowing your why makes it easier to handle the difficult tasks as well. So one of my assistant directors said that, and understanding her why, but also understanding why we're here, why the learning tree, why all of that. It just is so great to hear what they've learned and they've taken away from all of the investing we've done in our leaders.
I love it. And there's always that the families and the children are above it all, right? That's why we go into work. And you guys change lives every day you come through the door. Just know that. And I've told this story before. If you've already heard it, I apologize. But I started in early education 60 years ago in Greenwood, South Carolina. And Miss Charlotte and Miss Argel were my teachers. And nobody had to remind me of that. I remember them. And we developed most of our brain in those first 6 years of our lives. And the thing that you don't see as early education leaders is the impact you have over the span of someone's life. And Miss Charlotte and Miss Argel, rest their souls, I'm sure I did something today that I learned from them in early education. So you're making an impact over, I'm here to tell you, at least 60 years, and I'm sure more. When I'm 85, I'll say 80 years. But it's really amazing. And Andrea, you touched on something. One of the things we like to say is we do, and one of your team members said this, as leaders, we do control the weather in every room we go in. And are you going to bring the sunshine, even though we don't feel like it? Some days we feel like it, but how about when we don't feel like it? And we all know people that suck the life out of a room. We do. But be that person that brings the sunshine because you control the weather. And the other thing is something has to change in order for us to grow. And this isn't, Andrea and I having this great conversation, it's good, and we're talking about a lot of positive things, but if we all go from this webinar and nothing changes, I like to say nothing changes if nothing changes. Because if we walk away and we don't start doing something new, stop doing something old, do more of something or less of something, nothing's going to change. And we have to walk against the current in order to be great. We never drift into greatness. We never do. So Andrea, anything else before we go to the poll question, now that I know how to run the poll question thing?
I'm good.
You're good. Okay, poll question. So all that said, and we're not going to hold you, accountable and call you and ask us, what do you plan to do differently? What do you plan to do differently? This is what we do in the leadership classes is like, okay, now you've heard all this. So what actually do you feel like you want to plan to do differently? So, and I'm pretty sure I'm looking at the responses, and they will fill up. And Andrea, if you see some pop in, just let me know as well. And this question takes a little more thought after going over all the fundamentals and everything. What do you plan to do differently with your leadership development? Ask them for their opinion when they ask. Yeah. Ask. Onboard everyone fully in the first 90 days. I love that. And by the way, a successful onboarding is so underrated. I hope y'all know that. It's so underrated. You set the tone on the onboarding. You set that tone. Is that first step. Take more time to develop my leadership skills to help coach my other staff, how to hone theirs, read more leadership books. Sarah, read the Energy Bus. It's really easy read, which is why I like it. And it's a narrative. It tells a story, but teaches while it tells a story. Bring the sunshine. Monitor my attitude and emotions. And boy, there's plenty of days we don't feel like bringing sunshine, right? The larger plan. Take action to find leadership trainings for our leaders. Yeah, ask them what they would like to be engaged in. And we have one-on-ones and manager meetings, encourage more education. So at this point, Andrea, any comments to any of these thus far? And I'll talk after you if you have anything.
I think one way that I could have mentioned too, totally forgot to mention this, is before we did this, I've had different rounds in all the years I've been doing this, but I would have a pool of really, really, really great question or conversation starters for directors to check in with someone, because it can't just be, how's it going? Do you need anything? And then hi and bye, and that's the only interaction they have. So coming up with some really good questions and conversation starters, and having them rotate through those questions just to make connections with teachers. So it's not the same thing every day. Hi and bye. Do you need anything? See you tomorrow. Coming up with some questions is a great plan.
So not to put you on the spot, do you have any that you have used successfully?
Yeah, I had a time where we called them, they're called Take 10. And it was, I would ask the directors to go take 10 minutes and just go make connections with teachers. And some of the questions were things like, they're very specific to our curriculum, but they're also specific to outside of work. So tell me about a conflict you solved in your classroom this week between two children. What materials are on your plan today for curriculum? How do you enter a child's play and be a partner in their play? So it's just a conversation starter. If you were explaining open-ended art to a new teacher, how would you describe it? It's just getting them to talk to the directors in just different ways other than how are you doing and how can I support you? Or even things like what fun do you have planned this month with your family?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, as you know, Andrea, one of the leadership sprint topics is the gift of curiosity. And when we are, particularly if we have a kind of responsibility or authority over someone, if we're curious with them, something as simple as how was your weekend, we're honoring them. We're honoring who they are. We're making them feel special. Karen mentioned more one-on-ones and one-on-one with teams that report to you. Do you guys do that, Andrea? And I guess it's a real intentional, structured one-on-one time.
We do, yes.
Yeah. So that's, that FaceTime as a leader. And how are you doing? How can I help you be more successful? What are you what are you challenged with these days? But do make it structured if you do have one-on-one times. And I would, with everyone that reports to you, and so forth down the ladder, for subordinates to have one-on-one times with their leaders. What's going well? How can I help you be more successful? And be really intentional with it. Be intentional with it. Find more trainings. Let's see. Continue leadership training. Look in the leadership books. Check the weather. Luann, yep. Check the weather. So I love it. We bring with us as leaders a certain level of an aura, a weather aura. And by the way, many of us have a lot of authority away from work. When we may walk into that door, however that door looks, away from work, what kind of weather are we bringing there? Because remember, these are all connected. We don't have like a work life and then a away from work life. We got one life. And are we going to be bringing that sunshine in all aspects? And by the way, none of this is about you being perfect. None of it. Because you're going to fail miserably, because I have tried, and I know that it's not possible. This is all about getting this much better. You as a leader, your school, your team, just get this much better every week. This much better every week. Anything to add to that, Andrew, before we go to wrapping it up?
That was great.
Okay. Let's see. Cheryl, a friend shared the idea of Feedback Friday. I tried it with each staff member. We have a small team last week and found it nice. That was a fantastic idea. Because I've said this before, great companies are great at feedback. They're great at giving feedback, both positive and constructive, and they're great at asking for feedback and receiving feedback. And I'm just throwing a lot of different things at you. But when you do receive feedback, you as a leader, if you get constructive feedback, the first thing you need to remember to do is get past your first emotion. Because it's never productive. It's never productive. And so be asking for feedback. Ask your team, how can I lead you better? And the more you do, the more comfortable, and the way you react will determine how comfortable they are giving feedback. So thank you for sharing that, Charlotte. Looks like we're getting close to being the end. Anybody else have any comments before we wrap it up that they would like to share with the group? These are fabulous ideas. I'm sorry it took me just a minute or two to be able to pull them up. So anybody else before we get out of here? Give it a second. Andrea, any final words from you?
I'm thinking of something you've already taught me. Just keep getting better every day. So leadership is worth the investment, to have great people that understand your vision and your why, and they share the same thing, and investing in them and making a stronger team is, why would you not? Right.
And the encouragement from this webinar is this. If you happen to use Hinge for your leadership resources, that's great, and we would be honored. But invest somehow, somewhere in your people. And if this sounded salesy, it's not meant to be. But invest in your team. Go to Home Depot, buy that fertilizer, and then just realize that you're gonna look up one of these days, and you're gonna go, "Wow, the grass is green." Let's see. You are welcome, Sarah. And Marissa, I think we are done.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to be able to do this again sometime.